I am a dermatologist's worst nightmare, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why I use none of these modern slave products and why you shouldn't either, as well as providing you with superior natural alternatives. So, let me ask you a question first of all. Why do you use any of them? Why do you use shampoo? Why do you use soap? Why do you use deodorant? Why do you use sunscreen, shaving cream, toothpaste?
Because the risk to reward ratio is completely worth it. In this study, this was a meta-analysis. This is the highest in the pyramid when it comes to evidence power. And the study concluded there's zero association between antiperspirant use and breast cancer rates. And in this study, they concluded only 0.012% of the aluminum in antiperspirants actually gets absorbed, which is even less than the amount you get from food. In this study, people that brushed more often, they had lower all-cause mortality rates and lower heart disease rates. For example, never brushing at night increases the mortality risk by 20 to 35%. We also have studies showing that people that shower more often, they have lower mortality rates. So these things, they're either healthy for you to do, or they're beneficial socially, or both. So that's why I use them, because the evidence says so.
Why? No, seriously, I'm actually asking you this question. Like, think about it for more than 2 seconds. And you're gonna come up with a bunch of answers like, it's what you're supposed to do, or oh, it's to be clean, it's to smell good, you just don't really see an alternative to living without those things because you haven't thought about it. But I'm here to tell you that you were never intended to use these products. There's actually no reason to whatsoever, and they're actually damaging to you because the main thing, the foundation of this entire video is that anything you apply topically to the skin, to the scalp, any part of the skin barrier gets absorbed transdermally.
Okay, but what percent of it do you absorb? Because, for example, the aluminium, you only absorb 0.01%. Same thing for the things in sunscreen. The amount you absorb is not nearly enough to be problematic. These things are regulated. But yeah, it doesn't matter if you're absorbing a little bit of retinoids that you use if the amount that you absorb is not even close to being problematic systemically.
Into your system, okay? So, if it is toxic, when ingested, if you can't actually ingest the thing, you can't eat shampoo, you can't eat the majority of soaps, you can't consume all of these different chemical products that you put on your skin, then those things are toxic to every single part of your organism and they get absorbed through your skin. And this can cause hormonal disruption. I'm sure some of you might know about the endocrine
Again, depends on the quantity, and the quantities that you see on sunscreen are not nearly enough to be impactful.
disruptors that are present in a variety of those products, right? Things like phthalates, parabens, BPA, benzos, etc. But it's not limited to those things. Those are the things that have been studied. But what about the other chemicals which are harmful, which are toxic to our systems that have?
If there was a chemical that was doubling inflammation levels, for example, in sunscreen, we would have had already studies on it because it's pretty easy to track inflammation.
Haven't been studied. They all have an adverse effect. They all cause some form of systemic inflammation that the body has to deal with. Now, we are all genetically different. So those
Again, the studies would have noticed them.
toxins will lead to different issues in our system, depending on a variety of genetic factors, but there are a few common ones. For example, shampoo is a huge contributor to hair loss. I have no
No evidence.
idea how people haven't clocked this yet. It still amazes me how, while doom scrolling, I'll see this guy who does these crazy challenges with his hair, and he did this thing where he washed his hair with shampoo 25 times, and the entirety of the NPC comments were all, oh my god, this guy's gonna go bald, oh, balding speedrun, etc. Basically, they were implying that this guy washing his hair with the toxic waste that is shampoo over and over within a day is going to cause hair loss. Now, that guy does have good hair genetics, so it didn't happen to
Who cares what random online people say? They're not experts.
him. However, the logic is sound. So how come the NPCs intuitively know that shampooing your hair too much, too frequently, causes hair loss, but don't draw the actual conclusion that no amount of those toxins on your hair and scalp is good? All of them cause scalp inflammation because they get absorbed. And it's the scalp inflammation that leads to the mobilization of DHT, which causes hair loss in some people, okay?
False, it's the opposite. DHT comes first. Yes, there is inflammation in the process, but that comes after the DHT. That comes after the excess DHT sensitivity at the hair follicle level.
Okay? So, As far as shampoo is concerned, it's very, very obvious. Now, dermatologists go the complete other direction. They tell you that you should actually do it as frequently as humanly possible. Why? Because they have an agenda. They work with those pharmaceutical companies. Dermatologists are nothing more than robots, than drones that are programmed by the pre-existing establishment in order to increase the sales of all sorts of different hair and skin products, okay? It's that simple. It's an entire business. They are trained to bring as much revenue into the machine as possible. They're not trained to fix your problems, okay? So that's the thing with shampoo. It's the same thing with soap. I don't use any soaps, okay? If I want to use a soap, I'll get an actual soap that's either single ingredient or 2 or 3 ingredients like black African soap, olive oil soap, tallow soap. All of these different options are available.
Again, there's no evidence that using soap on your hands is going to increase mortality risk or cancer risk. You're just replacing something cheap that works for something expensive that doesn't work or that works worse, basically. That's all you're doing.
Available, right? You don't actually need to slatter your entire body in toxic chemicals every single day. And the same applies to
No one's recommending that.
deodorant, to fragrances, all these things that you believe that, oh, you need to do this in order to be clean or to smell good. Well, first of all, a lot of your bad smells actually come from your diet. Yes, people who consume a shit ton of seed oils, that is the main
Why is it always the seed oils?
reason why they smell like absolute garbage, right? If you think about fat people, for example, many people think that they smell like shit all because they're fat, that they sweat too much and whatever. That's only half the story. What they actually consume in massive quantities makes them emit this disgusting odor, which signals to the environment.
I'm sure he's partially correct. If you eat junk food all the time, you're probably going to smell worse. But again, the main pathway is excess sweat on the skin, and then the bacteria that breaks it down emits bad smell when it's breaking it down. So that's the main mechanism, and antiperspirant, they solve that mechanism.
Environment that they are unhealthy, that you should stay away from them. And you should, right? That's the main thing. You're actually not supposed to smell bad intrinsically, right? And there's an argument
Nature doesn't care how you smell, so there's that.
to be made that a lot of girls actually like this primal smell, the smell of sweat, the smell of BO, if the man is healthy.
Attractive.
You will find this in a lot of different comment sections where the girls are actually more honest and forthcoming about their preferences and about the different psychological triggers that they have. A lot of them actually really like a man's natural scent, especially if she's attracted to him, of course. But even if you decide you wanted to scent yourself, you just don't like the natural smell, right? You still have alternatives, right? You can literally use essential oils which have the antimicrobial properties of deodorants without being toxic, without containing all of these different chemicals that go systemic and cause issues inside of the body, and they smell good, and their smell lasts. You can use tea tree, you can use frankincense, you can use lavender. There are many different types and scents of essential oils that
Again, it does the same thing. It's not safer. You're just replacing a cheap product that works. You're just wasting your money.
you can experiment with. So there's no reason why you should use any fragrances, any deodorants, any of those things. Now we get to shaving cream and toothpaste, which for some people is a lot harder to let go of. A lot of people are very, very conditioned to believe that those things are normal. But again, you don't actually need them. For shaving cream, for example, I literally replace that with avocado oil. Yeah, I literally just slather avocado oil wherever I need to shave, and it does
Why?
the job perfectly, and it leaves my skin in a very, very smooth, amazing texture. All right. And on top of that, you don't even need.
So that just replicates shaving cream. It's like the whole putting eggs on your scalp. Eggs do have lipids, and lipids do make your hair more enriched, I guess you could say, but that's exactly what conditioners do. So you're just replicating a conditioner, but it's way more expensive. And that's what you're doing when you're replacing things for natural products. Egg yolks do work as a conditioner because they have lipids, but you can just use a conditioner, and it's much cheaper, and it's not riskier in any way. So again, you're just wasting your money.
Because if you just take a hot bath and you start becoming sweaty and everything, sometimes I literally do this. I will shave in the bathtub in hot water, and it all does itself naturally. I don't even need shaving cream. I don't even need oil. I don't need anything. So if you shave in a bathtub or while taking a shower, you can literally just do it as long as the water is hot enough. And if not, just use oils. Just make sure that the oils are not too comedogenic. So for example, avocado is fine. Olive oil, some people might break out from that. It really depends on how prone and sensitive you are to clogged pores, right? Now, what about toothpaste? Well, again, you've also got natural alternatives, which don't contain any fluoride, don't contain any of the other toxic.
But fluoride is the active ingredient. If you replace antiperspirants that have aluminum or natural ones that don't, it's not going to work because you removed the active. It's the same thing with toothpaste. If you replace one with fluoride or natural one that doesn't have fluoride, then why use toothpaste in the first place? Because that was the active ingredient. So again, this doesn't make any sense to me. You're just replacing something that works for a more expensive option that doesn't work.
chemicals. And toothpaste is even worse because you do actually ingest it every single time that you...
No, you're supposed to spit it. And if you do, the very small amounts that you end up ingesting, they're not even close to the safety threshold. So it doesn't matter.
brush your teeth. So you can use baking soda, you can do oil pulling. So this is the practice of actually swishing oil inside of your mouth for about a minute or two and then spitting it out, and it gets rid of all the bad bacteria inside of your mouth. What I like to do is I like to combine baking soda with oil pulling by just mixing the two in my mouth and using my wooden toothbrush to go over and just swish it around, spit it, and it's all good. I used to deal with a lot of tooth issues in the past, abscesses, cavities, you name it. And all of it completely disappeared through the usage of garlic. So anytime one of these issues would flare up, I'll just crush garlic in my mouth, mix it with salt and with lemon, and any kind of tooth infection.
You should not use lemon on your teeth because they erode your enamel, just like vinegar does.
No matter how bad it was, eventually went away without antibiotics, without any of these dangerous medicines that they prescribe you, because antibiotics kill the good bacteria in your body as well. You actually, if you've ever been on antibiotics, especially if it's recent, your entire system, your entire gut microbiome is significantly worse than what it can be. So in that case, what you want to do is introduce some type of fermented food. I prefer kefir because it's a really good animal-based source, and it's also the highest amount of bacteria per gram that you can get. But yeah, basically just introduce natural probiotics. You can start rebuilding your gut microbiome, which is responsible for the majority of your health outcomes. But yeah, you don't need toothpaste, you don't need mouthwash, you don't need any of this crap. And if you're worried about odor, again, oil pulling plus baking soda completely gets rid of it. You can also make your own toothpaste with some types of clays. That's also an option. There are many natural alternatives, right? Point is, you don't need any of this crap. And most teeth issues come from dietary problems anyways.
I agree.
Right? That's what you have to understand. You know that you were never supposed to get braces. You were never supposed to have cavities, to have abscesses, to have any kind of teeth formation issues, infections whatsoever. That's because of the
Yeah, I agree.
garbage modern diet that your parents have put you on because they don't know any better. They didn't get you on an animal-based diet free from all these processed sugars, from all these extremely acidic foods that destroy the enamel and destroy the overall integrity of your teeth, and also don't support correct jaw development, right? If you actually look at Weston A. Price's work and look at the indigenous tribe that he studied, all of them had perfect straight white teeth or a little bit of tint of yellow that is technically healthy. The whole idea of having pearly white teeth is a complete psyop in itself to sell you even more garbage, but it's a
But they didn't just eat animal foods. They also ate plant foods, but they were not ultra soft like the ones we have today. Because right now we have ultra processed foods. They're basically pre-processed. They're basically pre-chewed. And back then you had to chew everything, regardless of what you ate. So that's a big reason why they had white palates and developed jaws. But of course, the other half of the picture is genetics.
very ingrained perceptions in people. But yeah, no issues, never needed any braces, never needed their wisdom teeth removed. If you need your wisdom teeth removed, it's because your jaw didn't grow correctly. That
Yeah, I agree.
pressure, that pain caused by your wisdom teeth should never be a thing if you actually develop properly through a good diet, through good habits, okay? Now about sunscreen, because this is one of the more controversial ones, maybe not for the people that watch me, but just in general, people have been completely brainwashed to believe that they need sunscreen and that the sun is the complete and utter devil. Now, the main thing
No, it's nuanced. The sun has positives, for example, blue light. It has red light. It has vasodilation properties. It reduces heart disease risk. It increases dopamine. There are benefits, but also it causes up to 90% of visible skin aging, and also it can cause skin cancer. So it has pros and cons. It's nuanced.
thing about the sun is, just like everything else, diet plays a major factor. I have sunbathed this summer for hours at a time, every single week. There were times in which I did it
Anecdote.
almost daily, and guess what? I have not gotten sunburned a single time, okay? And you can clearly see that I'm Caucasian. Now, why is that? It's because my skin composition is different from 99% of modern humans.
You don't have to burn. Even a 10 is a sign of skin damage from UV radiation.
It's skin composition that is filled with omega-6 fatty acids because it is fat which makes up the outer layer of your skin. And if your outer skin composition is just filled with omega-6 fatty acids coming from seed oils and other things that are even worse, such as trans fats, etc., then you are going to burn in the sun. But if you completely eliminate those things and instead your skin is nourished with proper animal fat sources, proper saturated fat, which is like the healthiest thing that you can consume,
Pulse.
as we have evolved upon tens of thousands of years to use that exact type of fat to nourish ourselves, to energize ourselves, etc., then you're not going to burn anymore. Unless you put yourself in an environment that you did not evolve to be in. For example, in Australia, you do have to take precautions. You should ideally sunbathe towards the morning or towards the evening. But if you live in Europe, if you live in northern countries, it's completely fine to sunbathe as much as humanly possible. Because you have evolved to continuously live outside in the summer at this range of UV index and this level of ozone layering. And that's besides the fact that sunscreen is ironically one of the most useless things in this entire list, because what it does is it prevents vitamin D absorption from the sun, right? It actually prevents you from getting one of the biggest
You can just take a supplement. You can get the benefits without the negatives.
benefits from the sunlight, which comes from the UVB, which is what sunscreen has been designed to block. The whole theory about DNA damage
Sunscreen blocks both UVB and UVA.
and all of these different things, all but sun is going to destroy your collagen or whatever, only applies to people who don't nourish their skin correctly. Therefore, it bakes in the sun, right?
Pulse. Applies to everyone.
If you can actually properly tan and you don't get these adverse effects from the sun because you actually know what to eat, your diet is predominantly based on animal products, then you won't get any of these adverse effects. The sun is actually going to feel really nice on your skin. Not only does sunscreen block one of the most important things that you can get from the sun, but also it is filled with some of the most horrible cancer-causing, endocrine-disrupting chemicals that you can possibly find, right? Oxybenzone, octocrylene, all of these different things are horrible. There's a reason why you hate the smell of sunscreen. There's a reason why
Again, it depends on the dose. If you only absorb 0.01% and it's not even close to the amount needed to cause problems, then it doesn't matter.
it feels so gross on your skin is because it is literally chemical toxic waste. Okay. Now, if you still for some reason want to protect your skin, maybe you live in Australia and you have to be out, or maybe your skin is still sensitive to the sun, you're still recovering from a shit diet, then you can simply make your own, right? Don't do mineral sunscreens because they still contain toxin that you don't want to be absorbed. Instead, get your own zinc oxide powder and mix it with coconut oil, tallow, different things to make it into a paste.
More expensive. It's not practical. Doesn't spread as well. Just a waste of time and money.
And apply that. Paul Saladino actually has a great natural sunscreen recipe that teaches you.
He's just a grifter. Made millions selling carnivore diet books and then admitted that it made him sick all the time. So now he's not on a carnivore anymore.
You exactly how to do that. I personally don't think it's necessary. Just intelligently dose the sun up until you're tan, up until you can get unlimited amounts like me without any problems. But if for some reason you still wish for some level of protection, you can do that. You can use raspberry seed oil, which has an estimated SPF of around 28 to 50, depending on sourcing. But I cannot press this enough. The sun is basically one of the best things that you can maximize for your health, for your attractiveness, for your mental well-being. I would say it's on par with nutrition in terms of importance, if not more. So yeah, this is why I don't use any of that garbage. These are some of the alternatives you can use. And remember, all of these toxic products, they add up. All of it gets absorbed through your skin. All of it ends up systemic. All of it contributes to different types of inflammation that your body has to combat. And all of it can contribute to a variety of issues, both aesthetically as well as health-wise. This entire list of things all contains endocrine disrupting chemicals that are estrogenic and which reduce your testosterone levels. That is one of the main reasons why men's testosterone levels, there are many different factors, right? This is one of the main reasons why those levels have gone down significantly in the past.
False. By far the biggest reason is because men are way fatter now than they were back then. And when you have excess body fat, you aromatize more testosterone into estrogen, which is what's happening. And that's by far the main factor. Other things matter too. For example, you need enough nutrients, you need to sleep enough. But the biggest difference, and by far the biggest reason why you have less testosterone than your ancestors, not you, but us in general, is because we have way higher obesity rates.
Past 50 years and past 100 years is because of all of the toxic chemical slop that we put on ourselves.
And also the average age is much higher. If you look at tribes, the average age is like 20. So of course they're going to have a high average testosterone level. So that's another factor.
This is why the rates of infertility have gone up in both sexes, right? It is one of the main contributing factors, as well as poor diet, as well as lack of sunlight, as well as all of these different factors. And yes, all of them contribute to hair loss. All of them contribute to bad skin, right? But if you shift your paradigm and you simply just replace the toxic slop with good natural alternatives, or just simply eliminate them, and you will see a huge difference in the way you feel, in the way you look, and you just live with a peace of mind that you're not constantly absorbing these terrible chemicals. People wake up one day and wonder why they have cancer, wonder why they have this disease or that disease. Bro, even if you are genetically sensitive to cancer and to all sorts of different ailments, those genes have to be triggered. It's the same thing with balding. It's the same thing with everything, right? Those genes have to be triggered. And the constant slaughtering of slop chemicals over long periods of time can play a huge role. There's a reason why 99% of the diseases that we possess as modern humans don't exist in primitive tribes that are living.
Yeah, because they die before getting to that age. You get cancer, you need to live a pretty long time, and those tribes usually die at 30. And even if you discount childhood mortality, they still die in their 50s and 60s. So they die pretty early. They have a lower lifespan than India. I don't know why you're using them as authority. Pretty weird.
Living according to nature. Now, I'm not telling you to go live like a tribesman or whatever. I'm telling you how to adapt your modern lifestyle so that you avoid the bad portions of it and you still get to keep the good. Oh yeah, the same thing goes for skincare, by the way. Modern skincare is a complete another scam. Literally just use certain natural oils, fix your diet, use clay masks again. There are a bunch of different things that you can play with when it comes to natural skincare, but I'll dive into that stuff in another video. For now, throw all of your toxic products into the garbage. As always, keep ascending.
Terrible video. Anyways, if you want to join my school community, which is probably the highest IQ Looks Maxing community on school, then it's the first link in the pinned comment. It's also a way to support the channel. But yeah, terrible video. Let me know if you want to see me suffer even more by reacting more to selfmaxxer or other primal copers. And yeah, for now, that's pretty much it.